Welcome, and thank you to everybody who is tuning in today to check out these interviews that we've got with our elected hopefuls. Since the last week's candidate Q&A and forum, we extended invitations to all of our candidates that should they choose, they can come in, sit down for more in-depth conversations, deeper questions, and provide an opportunity for you guys to find out a little bit more about the candidates that are going to be on the ballot. So joining us here in the DMC living room today, we've got candidate for Fisher County Judge, Preston Martin. And thank you, Preston.
Thank you for having me, Jeff.
Absolutely. Neither one of us are terribly good or appreciate much small talk. So how about we just jump right into the questions and get all of this underway, yeah?
Sounds good.
All right. So you served as county commissioner for 16 years and were defeated in the 2024 re-election campaign. But after a year out of office, you made the decision to run for county judge. So what made you to seek the county judge now, and what specifically would you do different as judge that you didn't get to do as commissioner?
Sometimes you just need a little time to get to step back and look at things from a different point of view. And after that, I felt like I've learned a lot over the last 16 years, and it made me look at things different, So I felt like with my experience and just seeing how things have transpired over the last 16 years, 17 years, I feel like I'd be the best person for the job, and I could lead Fisher County to a better future.
So what's the single biggest problem that you believe as county judge you'd be in the best position to fix now? And what would you like to accomplish in your first year to kind of show that you're the right person for the job?
First, I'd like to lead the effort in eliminating waste. And also the jail. I believe that's a big topic. I feel like our citizens voted it in, so they've already spoken. And let me get it clear right from the start. I'm not for any new taxes or increasing taxes. I feel like I pay my fair share just like everybody else does, and that's not my goal. I want to keep Fisher County a place that's affordable to live, because there's a lot of people who want to come here to retire, and they're on a fixed income. They can't afford a lot of taxes on a fixed income.
Yeah, we often forget as voters that our elected officials also are taxpayers. Mm-hmm. So what steps will you take to rebuild trust with those voters who might not have supported you in 24? And what specific practices will you follow to ensure that past conflicts or personal matters never influence your decision-making as county judge?
First of all, I think you need unity through strength and truth. And that's going to be my goal. I want to unite our community, not divide it.
I want to, this next question is one that have been asked a lot. And I do think it's a fair question. But before I get into it, I want to provide a little bit of context for folks who may not be as familiar. I want to go back to the spring, summer, and early fall of 2022. You were indicted on 2 felony charges tied to your official duties as commissioner. You were arrested and then released later after posting bond. In August of 22, the state of Texas, along with Fisher County Auditor, filed a civil petition seeking your removal from office and requested that you were suspended without pay. In October of 22, the district attorney's office moved to dismiss the criminal case after you presented exculpatory evidence that could clear you of any wrongdoing. I think it ought to be noted that this evidence came in from official correspondences. It came in the form of official correspondence between yourself as commissioner and the wind farm company. And it not only explained the entire situation, it was evidence that could have been presented much earlier in the case if anyone had asked you for it, or if the detectives had performed a thorough investigation. After that, the civil case to remove you from office had no grounds and was also dismissed. Then in April of 23, the Commissioner's Court declined to approve reimbursement for that legal defense, the defense expenses that were tied directly to that case, which prompted your lawsuit against Fisher County for reimbursement. And that dispute is still pending, as to my knowledge anyway. And so now you're asking voters to elect you as county judge. So how do you square that request for trust and stewardship with the fact that you're currently in litigation against the county that you're looking to represent?
Under Texas Local Government Code 157.901, it clearly states that Fisher County was in violation of local government code by not reimbursing me for my legal expenses. I wanted to set case law. That way this could never happen to another elected official. Anybody can say anything they want about somebody and they can sue you for anything. And I don't think the taxpayers should be paying for frivolous lawsuits. And another point I would like to make is the county has entered in several other lawsuits when I was a commissioner, but it was always brought to the commissioners to make the decision to enter this lawsuit. This lawsuit was entered without ever coming before the commissioner's court. I've talked to several commissioners. They said they were never asked to go forward with this lawsuit. This was done by one or two individuals. This is nothing personal. It's just the law. And I think the county should follow local government codes, which this is one of them.
Right.
Just like other ones. I believe in Open Meetings Act. I don't believe in backroom meetings. I don't believe in giving yourself a raise or elected officials a raise without publishing it for the public to know, where they can come voice their opinions of it.
You have no idea how appreciative I am that you responded to that question. I get asked it a lot. I've never really quite known how to address it. I think that it's fantastic, not only that I get the opportunity, that you've allowed me the opportunity to present some questions, but that you have a response for it. You've often been a polarizing figure, at least at times as commissioner. You've called out problems, questioned contractors and county actions, and sometimes you've cast the only dissenting vote against some sort of decision. And as county judge, you'll be the presiding officer, responsible for running the meetings and managing conflict just as much as voting. So if elected, how will you handle disputes among those county officials or between the court and contractors? And what will your approach be to keeping order, keeping things fair, while also still holding people accountable?
I think we need clear expectations. That'll stop a lot of that, And then let's go on to, like with energy companies or whatever. I believe you got to have clear commitments from them. Then you got to have enforceable contracts. That's a problem that we have had with the pipeline companies, even the windmill companies. We'll go in and give them a tax abatement. Then if they don't follow through, or same way with the permit process, if they don't follow through, nobody never pushes it. We don't ever follow through with the contract. So we're leaving money on the table. And some of this money, I believe, could be spent or used for staffing our sheriff's department, giving them competitive raises, staffing our jail if it was open, giving our jailers competitive pay also, where we can keep it fully staffed all the time.
So what's one decision presented through the judge's office in the past few years that you might have handled differently? And what policy or practice would you change so it doesn't repeat?
Judge Holt, has done some good things while he's been there, but I believe there could be more transparency and accountability. One way I could do this to be more accountable, where we will be more accountable, and the citizens can see what happened. I'd like to post every check that the county gives on the county website. And I believe our county website may be getting a little outdated, and it could be updated a little better. But I think the people deserve to know what their money's being spent on and who it's being given to. And I think they'd be surprised when they start looking at all of the checks that's being wrote in Fisher County, and they'll start asking more questions when that happens.
Okay, so last year, the Commissioner's Court voted to officially decommission the jail, even though voters originally approved it and the county still carries a fairly substantial debt service. Voters seem to be kind of split between reopening the jail and shifting resources for more deputies. The sheriff's office has also raised some issue with competitive pay. Where do you stand on the jail's future, whether it's remaining decommissioned or pursue a path to reopening it or repurposing it?
Well, I know we have to be financially responsible with taxpayer dollars, so that comes first. But there's more to it than just closing the jail. When we have inmates in other counties, our deputies are having to transport them there, transport them back. If there's a court date or whatever, we have to go pick them up, bring them to court, take them back. Well, every time we do this, we're leaving portions of our county or all of our county uncovered while they're doing that. I believe in public safety, number one, but we have to do it responsibly. The jail's never going to be profitable. We all know that. Right. You can look at any county in the state of Texas. That's always their biggest budget item is the jail. I do think that we can make a little money by housing out of county inmates. You know, it will help a little bit.
Do you believe that, like, pay increases? They've talked about, you know, salary a lot. Mm-hmm. In fact, we've even seen some of the candidates who are seeking office. That's some of their campaign goals. Do you believe that pay increase are part of a realistic solution? I
do. I think that's the only way it's ever going to work. If you can make $4 or $5 an hour driving 30 minutes a day, you're probably going to go drive 30 minutes a day.
So if the jail remains closed, what plan would you pursue to use, lease, sell, or otherwise offload it so that the facility doesn't sit idle while taxpayers continue to pay on its debt?
I think there's several different avenues we could take on that. One of them is making a juvenile center. There's several different ways that we could generate money off of this building that's just sitting there.
Let's get to some budget questions. I love these. So, according to the recent Treasurer's report, the county retains roughly $9.5 million in reserves. Yet the county has seen service pullbacks, such as the jail, including the decommissioning of the jail. So, as county judge, what are some of your top service priorities to restore or improve? And what portion of reserves, if any, would you consider using when preparing your first budget cycle?
Well, I believe we need to be careful about spending our reserve. And as we have talked about before, I believe we need to go ahead and pay off the jail as soon as the interest rates come down to make it feasible for the county to do so. You know, law enforcement's not going to be number one priority to me. Roads and infrastructure, number two. There's other areas of the county that we need to have more discussions on before I just say that's what we're going to do. Because there's two sides to every story. So I'm not going to sit here and say this is only a path forward without hearing from everybody and have their input on it.
So what are your thoughts for when reserves should be spent versus when they should be protected?
I don't believe we should be dipping into them unless it's necessary. You know, we've seen the tax base grow a little bit. You know, through the years, we've been fortunate to have this oil income come in probably for the last 4 or 5 years. We've had some wind projects. Now we're having the data centers, and now we're talking about some solar projects. So I think we have a lot of new income coming, and the future looks good for Fisher County. We just need to be responsible with taxpayer dollars.
That segues perfect into the next question. So, because much of the county's large cash balance sits pooled in investments, and interest has become a meaningful revenue source. When the county has that kind of cash on hand, what's your philosophy for deciding whether to hold it in reserves, use it for one-time capital needs, or use it to offset taxes or reoccurring operations?
I believe we need to keep taxes low as possible, but we still don't need to be cutting the services for the community. You know, they pay in good money for their taxes to Fisher County. So we need to give them the services they deserve, no matter if it's law enforcement, our fire departments, any kind of service that our community wants. I think we need to be able to provide it for them.
Do you think that the county should set like a maximum reserve level, like certain dollar amounts or a certain number of months of operating expenses?
Well, I think if you got 2 years worth of operating expenses, I think that should be sufficient.
You talked a little bit earlier about this, so I want to get back to it. It's perfect timing. Kind of in broad strokes, the county's received around $800,000 a year from wind farm tax abatements. As those payments start to phase out over the next couple of years, and new agreements tied to projects like the Indigo Solar and the Iron Data Center are also expected to bring in substantial revenue, what are your thoughts on granting future tax abatements to energy and data center projects?
Well, I don't believe we just need to be giving them a blank check, is one thing, because we have seen this happen before. As we give a tax abatement, then they come back and say, well, we're not going to pay. Well, what they're doing is they're giving us an annual payment in lieu of taxes. But then if something don't go their way, they say, well, we're not going to make that payment. Let's add that to year 11. Well, by year 11, that thing's 85% depreciated out. So you're not getting 15% of the taxes on year 11 when you could have got that money up front and invested it in CDs or other investment forms to make money off of that. So we're losing money every time we don't follow through with agreement, that we need to have enforceable contracts.
So in those types of agreements, what clear non-negotiable standards would you require before, say, approving the next deal?
Well, one would be you'd have a clear and make sure they sign a road use agreement. We've had that come up before, that they come to court and they give us a contract. The commissioners approve a road use agreement. Then down the road, you hear officials saying, well, they didn't ever sign the road use agreement after you've gave them the tax abatement. So you can't have a tax abatement without having road use agreement or other infrastructure things that are going to hurt Fisher County. I don't want to leave Fisher County taxpayers holding the bag.
So should abatements, do you think that abatements should be a default tool for bringing projects to our area, or the exception to it? And what would be a deal breaker condition that you would absolutely vote no to?
Well, I believe it's the incentive of having them come in here has outweighed the damage they're going to do to our community and our way of life. We've seen it before, that they come in here and it sounds good to say, hey, you're going to get $250,000 a year. But when we spend more than that repairing the roads they tear up, we have made no money. Then they say, we're going to have, well, I'll just repeat, or the gentleman that came here to the Commissioner's Court about this data project.
Oh, yes.
I believe I asked him a question, how many full-time jobs will remain in Fisher County after the initial construction phase? He told us one. Then he didn't even guarantee that one was going to be living in Fisher County. So I think we need to make it very clear from the start how many full-time employees they're going to have that reside in Fisher County when the project is done.
And that does seem to be kind of a theme, I guess, in the way that the companies present their initial contact, is how many jobs they're going to bring to the area, without really explaining that those jobs are going to be in the construction phase where there's a lot of hands on deck. Once that program, the facility, or whatever it is that they're bringing is underway, that those jobs aren't guaranteed to stay in the county, right?
That's right.
So a little bit of forecasting. Should you be elected at the end of your first 4 years, what would a successful term look like to you?
Well, I think if we had a fully staffed sheriff's department would be one thing I'd feel like was very successful. If I can keep taxes to a minimum, I think that would be another success. And also if I can just bring unity back to Fisher County Courthouse into our community, I think would be another success.
As we're wrapping up, what's one thing that you really want Fisher County voters to understand about you and how you will serve as county judge should you be elected?
My family's been here over 125 years, and we care deeply about Fisher County. I care deeply about Fisher County. I wouldn't be running for this job if I didn't. It's going to be stressful.
You have been beaten up a lot over the 16 years as commissioner, right? You're coming back for more.
That's right. And I just want Fisher County to be a place that people want to remain and live in, or their kids after they go to school want to come back to and live and raise their kids. It's like I hope my grandkids want to come back here and live and have their kids go to our schools and start businesses up and be a positive contribution to Fisher County. I've always felt like I was a productive citizen of Fisher County, and that's what I expect from my kids and my grandkids.
Outstanding. Preston, thank you very much for coming and being a part of this, for allowing us to ask you questions, and for your thoughtful and honest questions and response, man. I really do appreciate it. I hope that the voters do as well.
I thank you for having me, Jeff, and appreciate everything y'all do down here.